Public speaking is one of those skills we want our kids to be great at and have practice at. But how do we do it at home? I am so glad you're going to get to hear from Elizabeth Green today. She is the head of the team over at My Speech and Debate Coach. She is a wealth of knowledge on this topic. She has a past in journalism where she's been on camera and doing this for her whole professional life and has brought those skills to our kids. You are going to learn so many practical tips to use at home to teach this skill, as well as options for outsourcing this. But I'm really excited for you to check out this interview. Go ahead, say hello to Elizabeth, and check out her resources that are linked below too. Let's get started. Elizabeth, thanks so much for being here. I would love to start, and we can kind of get to know you a little bit with a memory of learning public speaking as a kid. How has that memory kind of shaped your trajectory?
Oh, I have a very, very strong memory. I was extremely, extremely shy as a kid. You'd never know that now. But as a kid, I was terrified to talk to anybody that wasn't like close family or close friends. And in middle school or junior high, it was junior high then, now it's middle school, had to take a speech class and had to give a speech. I don't remember what the speech was about. I just remember being terrified, feeling sick to my stomach, like wanted to do anything but do that. But did the speech, and the teacher saw potential in me, and she encouraged me to join the competitive speech team. So here you have this like shy little person that doesn't like to talk to anybody, doing competitive speaking. And she really pushed me to do it. I went on and won nearly every tournament I competed in. I won scholarships, went on to become a news anchor, all because of this one class, this one speech, and this one teacher that literally transformed my life.
Yeah. Seriously. I mean, talk about the power. I mean, I feel like all of us have one of those teachers, right? The teacher who like said something, but that is huge. That's huge for you. I have something similar for Spanish too. I had one Spanish teacher who was like, "Hey, you're pretty good at this." And I was like, "Okay." And then go on to become a Spanish teacher. So I love that. Hear that, whoever's listening. This is something that, having the right teacher is really important, which ties in perfectly to why you're here today. So we're gonna get into all the things that you do in just a second, but public speaking feels like it could encompass a lot. Can you help us kind of define that a little bit?
Yeah, well, a lot of people consider public speaking. I mean, the definition is, right, you're trying to share information with a group of people. It could be a small group of people, a large group of people. It's just a form of communications, but typically viewed as a more formal type of communications. However, I think that we have to look at communications as the base of it, right? Because you can't do public speaking unless you're a decent communicator. And so everything that we teach and what we encourage parents to do really all stems at home and having conversations and communication skills at home so that you can do public speaking, because whether you like it or not, everybody has to do it at some point in time. Even if it's just in a job interview with one person, that's a form of public speaking. Everybody has to do it. So you have to learn how.
I feel like this should be a life skill, considered a life skill. I feel like often it gets lumped into like just the special kids who want to go compete and debate. So no, this is one of those life skills. I think about even like the pre-public speaking kind of skill of being able to do something on your own in front of a crowd of people, not necessarily even speaking. Right. I think of my kids doing like a karate routine in front of their peers and then in front of a competition, right? It kind of levels up the anxiety there perhaps that they're feeling, but if they've got those skills to deal with that anxiety, they're going to be more willing to do that and then, kind of level up from there. Exactly. But I think as parents, there's so many different ways that we can teach the basics of these skills at home. Share some of the ways you've seen families do this really well.
Some of the things that we encourage are giving your kids opportunities to speak to strangers. We tell our kids not to speak to strangers, right? But in certain controlled environments, like if you're at a restaurant, let your kid order their food. If they can speak, they can order their food, even if it's just helping point to it in the menu and trying to say the words, right? Talking to a stranger. Have them call and order pizza for pizza night. Just giving them those opportunities to, again, talk to strangers, whether it was at Scouts, volunteering to lead the pledge or volunteering to read something at a church service or whatever your community might be. There are opportunities, and volunteering your kids to do those opportunities, knowing that they maybe don't really want to, but they're going to find the benefit in it. And even if it terrifies them, like I said, it terrified me to do that whenever I was growing up, but afterwards and hearing people say, "You did such a great job," makes you feel amazing. So looking for those opportunities. I also encourage parents, especially homeschooling families, when you have your kids do a project, have them write some type of speech, when it works with whatever project you're doing, and then have them stand up in front of the family. Everybody's sitting there, like give them the stage, pay attention to them through the whole thing, give them applause afterwards, and do not critique them. Tell them what an amazing job they did and leave it at that. There's a lot of room for growth, and we'll learn those things as we go, especially if you want to do competitive public speaking. But just being told that you did a great job can go a long way in making them more willing to do it in the future. But the other day, we heard that our town was going to stop doing recycling. And so I told my son, I said, why don't you find out if that's true and when that's going to happen? And so I had him Google the phone number. He had to find the right department, call them, and then ask them about it. And I kind of stood there and he looked at me several times. He had it on speaker, like needed me to kind of guide him a little bit. And I thought, why haven't I had you do things like this more often? Right? Because we have to learn how to do those things. And it could have been so much faster and easier for me to do it, but it would have taken that opportunity away from him. Sometimes I think about it's, when our kids are learning how to tie their shoes, it's faster and easier just for us to do it for them a lot, but it's a skill they have to learn at some point. Right.
Right.
So looking for those opportunities, pausing and giving them the chance to, to speak to somebody, to explain whatever it is they need. And as moms, I think particularly we're quick to jump in and do it for them in lots of things, right? But it definitely falls into the communications realm as well. In fact, my 15-year-old just got his learner's permit and we went to the DMV. They called our number. We walked up and I told the woman what we were there for. And then I love her for this. She looked at my son and she said, okay, now you tell me why you're here. It was his learner's permit, right? Like he needs to be able to speak to them. And I thought, why did I do that for him? Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And there's so many levels and so much scaffolding. Let's try that again. There's so many levels and so much scaffolding we can provide for our kids in those low stakes, even if you fail calling about, recycling, it's not the end of the world, right? Those low stakes environments where we can give kids the chance to fail in a safe space and look over at you and you can kind of give them the information they need. I think of a few of the other ways that we can kind of level up little by little. So performing for the family, fantastic, but also, especially as homeschoolers, recording and sending to the extended family. Perhaps.
Yes, for
Sending
sure.
to the friend group. Hey, let's all, homeschool buddies send each other these videos, right? That, not live video is one way that we can lower the intensity. And it's also like, hey, knowing that people are going to watch this, I want to do it well. And so kind of building that desire in them.
Right.
One way that I've also seen this in my older daughter, who's now 11, kind of giving her the chance to record and edit her own video. That's something else that's kind of one of these 21st century skills where public speaking gets edited for better or for worse a lot these days. And so, yes, live speaking is really important, but also being able to, record something and be able to then edit it later and make sure that you're giving yourself those cues are really important.
Absolutely. No, I was going to say that that's something we encourage our students that are doing competitive public speaking. That's what we always start with, encouraging them to record themselves and then watch it back. Because if you want to get better at anything, you have to see yourself doing it, right? If you're trying to become a better pianist, you're going to not just listen while you're playing, you're going to record it and listen to it, right? So the more that we view ourselves doing things, the better we can get. But I will say, and I completely agree. And I think that is incredibly important to do, but not limit it to just that. You're right. Like, as you said, scaffolding, starting there, but then don't say, okay, well, they recorded this. That's good. That's good enough. It is good, but they need to do it live too, because it is a whole different ballgame once they're ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. But sometimes these practicing moments at home aren't enough, or maybe we don't have the time, or we don't feel equipped, maybe as parents. So sometimes we do need to outsource. We might start looking at options. What are some of the ways that you and your team help families looking to teach and refine these skills?
Yeah, I think this is one of those skills, honestly, that everybody can benefit from outsourcing in some way, shape, or form, just because it's a whole different ballgame when we're talking to strangers as opposed to talking to our family. So whether it's in person, and the sad thing is there really aren't a lot of speech and debate clubs or opportunities for, especially for homeschool kids, but even kids, my kids go to public school and there's not a team there. So even for kids in school, these opportunities are scarce. So if it's a virtual environment or whatever it is, being able to learn how to communicate your ideas, your thoughts around a group of strangers, it is a whole different level than doing that with your family. And we need to prepare our kids for that. The benefits we see are astronomical, but the great thing is that kids come into our classes really nervous, right? Public speaking is a scary thing. It is the number one most reported fear out there. I say that people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. And that's like the legit truth, right? Yeah. So the sooner we can get our kids past that fear, the better. But they come into class and they're like, this idea of public speaking is really scary. And then we say, hey, tell us a little bit about you. What's your favorite thing to do? Do you have any pets? They tell us and we're like, you just did public speaking. And they're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad, right? And then they realize, okay, I can do this. And so it's very easy. It's very quick to ease them into these classes. But I mean, there's lots of different teachers and organizations out there that offer these types of classes. It's important to find the ones that your kids are going to connect with and have fun in, because we don't learn if we're not having fun. And the last thing that we want to do is turn them off to the idea of communications.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that there's like this peer group that they're, again, talking about scaffolding, right? We might do this in our family, but if we're kind of going to level up, maybe we'll do this with our peer group next. And so they've got another group of 10 to 12-year-olds that they're working with in your virtual classes. I just wanted people to see kind of what you guys offer at myspeechanddebatecoach.com. You can find this link down below, you guys. But virtual classes, do you want to talk us through these? You would be able to do that better than I can.
Yeah, well, we do a little bit of everything. We have classes that we offer. We do a lot of our classes on OutSchool, but we also are on some other platforms and offer classes through our own website. So we have virtual classes that could be groups of kids that don't know each other. Like if you don't have other families that you're working with or have any other families that are interested in this type of class, we'll put you in a group. The kids make friends very quickly. But we also work with a lot of co-ops and organizations like that where they want their group of kids that are used to learning together to learn these skills together. So we do classes, we do courses, we do camps. So it can be just a quick little snapshot of how to write a speech or a very basic intro to debate. We do a lot of clubs. Clubs are a really popular thing for us where the kids join every week and we debate different topics. They continue to expand their skills. And I just have the most amazing group of teachers that work with us. And we also do tutoring and coach, whether it's the very basics or very high level competitive public speaking and debate. We do it all.
I love that. You do it all. And I can speak to the level of quality humans that you have working for you. So thank you for taking the time to find those really gems, those teachers that you mentioned. You had one of those who said, hey, you're good at this, calling out the great stuff in our kids. That's really, really important.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Now, I know that you have a free debate topic, table topic kind of resource. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that's really fun. And that'll lead into our next question about your family and some of the ways that you've seen some success stories. Because I love hearing your kids' stories. I think they're really funny. So thank you for sharing those. But tell us a little bit about that resource and about how you see this work out in your family.
Yeah, we have a couple different resources. One, we have a free debate lesson. It is a pretty in-depth lesson if you really want to teach the basics, the vocabulary, the strategies, the formats of debate, all of that. So we have a free lesson on that, along with kind of a topic guide to consider. Here's some things, some questions you want to consider in this debate. Here's some points that you might want to consider. So it's just a great freebie lesson if you are at the very, very beginning stages of wanting to explore debate in your household. We also have a really popular, it's a very short mini lesson, but it's on how to craft a speech out of thin air. No writing involved, no research involved, but basically teaching the kids how to take a response to anything and turn it into a quick speech. So those are two really great resources that a lot of people enjoy. And the kids, even like I said, even if they kind of grumble at first, because it's public speaking, right? You quickly see that, no, actually they like this. And one of the main things I will say, our classes, when we started on OutSchool, grew so quickly. And I told so many people, it's not like we're teaching something that other people can't teach and it's not being done elsewhere. It is. It's just that these kids are so excited to have somebody listen to their thoughts and their ideas. And I think that's what made our classes so successful. The kids and the families saw the benefits of increased confidence, better communication skills, logical thinking, critical thinking, and all those things. But for the kids themselves, they were just in a virtual room, being able to talk about their opinions about something, and everybody's listening to them. And that is I know as a mom myself, I'm very, very guilty at my kids are telling me something about Minecraft or whatever, and I'm going, while I'm cooking dinner or doing something else. And just that little bit of like full on attention, you have the floor for 2 minutes to talk about this. We're all going to listen. It just does. They love it. They love it. And it does wonders for their confidence.
Absolutely. I feel that. And I totally can see how that would, bring up just this feeling of, I want to be in this class. I want to come to this thing. And I think as homeschool parents, if that's something that we are outsourcing, we want our kids to look forward to this thing. The classes that my kids take, with their French teacher or whatever, they love their French teacher and their French teacher loves them, and they can tell. That's what's happening in these classes. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
What about your family? Tell us a couple stories where you've seen some of this public speaking at home come to fruition.
So, well, you know me personally through, social media and the ways we've connected. I'm blessed to have 2 very funny boys. I definitely am a full-on boy mom and never expected that, but I have fully embraced that. And they're very, very funny. And so there's a lot of laughter in my house. But one of the things that I love to talk about whenever it comes to teaching them public speaking skills, they know that I do this, right? I do this for a living. I do it from home. They hear me do this a lot. And if they think that I'm going to make them do it, they're quick to be like, oh no, and kind of grumble. So but they secretly really enjoy it. So, it's so funny because my house is kind of the hub for all the neighborhood boys. And so there's a lot of food, a lot of feeding kids going on. And so a lot of times whenever my son and his friends are sitting at the counter, I have this little book called Which is Worse. And it's like gross and weird things that tween and teen boys love to consider. Like, would you rather find a thumb in your root beer float or eat rotten food for the rest of your life? Like really weird, gross stuff, right? And they're crazy. But I'll pick up the book and they're like, because I want them to answer in a speech format. I say, you can't just give me your answer. You have to say your intro. You have to give me your reasons why. And then we have a little format to close out your speech. And so I give them the question and they grumbled, right? And then as soon as I end the question, all their hands go up. And they are so eager to share this, even though they grumble, and then they giggle and they love it. Because they're like, oh, it's school, because they know I'm not going to just let them tell me their answer. They have to do it in the format way that we're practicing our speeches. But no, they crack me up every time because it never fails. They're always like, oh, school, and then hands shoot right up. They can't wait to share.
Absolutely, I love that.
I have to make them raise their hands because otherwise they'll just all jump in and want to share so quickly.
That's amazing. I love that. I'm gonna have to look at that book. That looks awesome. Yeah, a good would you rather, but this sounds much more fun.
Yes, for sure.
I think even one step lower, for talking scaffolding again, I make my kids a defect of our house is that the door locks. You have to actually have a key in order to open it. There's no unlocking the door, and then fire hazard, I know. But I have to throw them the keys when they're coming in from an event and I happen to be in the house and I don't want to go downstairs, but I make them tell me a joke first. And they have to give the right comedic timing for me to actually give them the keys. So they've done the same jokes over and over again, but there's all this, soft skill stuff with facial expressions and tone and wait time and stuff like that. Yeah. So there's so many ways we can do this, you guys.
Absolutely.
Make it fun. Do not bore your kids.
Yeah.
All right, Elizabeth, anything we've missed? We've covered a lot. I think these are some really good tips. Yeah. What else would you add here?
I think I just also wanted to say, lean into the way that your kid prefers to communicate. Obviously, all children need to learn how to write. They need to learn how to speak, right? There's lots of different ways we can communicate, but lean into the way that benefits them the most or the things that they enjoy the most. Teach them all of it. Have them practice all of it. But for example, my son that I talk about a lot, as a young boy, he loved to watch Wildcrats and he knew everything there was to know about insects and animals. I mean, we would be at the zoo and he would be talking to adults about why koalas are the only animals that could eat eucalyptus leaves. And people would look at me and they'd be like, is he right? And I would be like, probably, I don't know. But he knew all the things, right? But if I asked him to write a paragraph about any animal of his choosing, I would barely get 2 sentences out of him. And that is not that he has a learning disability that affects handwriting. So that is not his preferred form of communication. So if you have that, if you face that in your family, like I said, you have to learn how to do both. They have to be able to write, they have to learn how to speak, but don't get so caught up on the writing aspect. If your kid likes to talk and they do a better job sharing information, have them do their projects orally. I mean, they enjoy it more. Like we talked about, if we want them to learn, they have to enjoy it. And it's only going to continue to increase those skills if they come out ready to communicate, which some of them do, right?
That is true. That's so true. So true. I love that. Please hear that. If you guys are listening to this and you're trying to, squeeze out a certain type of output or show of knowledge, there are multiple ways. So find that way. And if speaking is one of them, this is a really great way. Hey, I love it. As we wrap up, let's talk about what you're looking forward to. I love hearing what people are excited about. So personally, professionally, what are you looking forward to in the next 6 months or so?
Personally, I'm looking forward to my teenager who now has his permit to actually get his driver's license, which is bittersweet, right? Makes mama a little bit worried, but also just being able to have him drive to and from. He's in band, and that's a very demanding activity. So personally, I'm looking forward to that. Professionally, we are continuing to expand. I just hired on several more fantastic teachers with amazing backgrounds in debate. And when I interview teachers and I am looking at who to bring on, I always tell them, you could be the most amazing debater in the world. That doesn't mean you're going to be a great teacher. And so finding those that are both of those, and I have found some really, really amazing ones. So I've been growing our team, and I'm so pumped about that. We're growing our offerings on OutSchool and beyond. And we really, really would like this fall to launch our first homeschool debate team that can do competitive debating, starting from the beginning and building up. But there are some limitations with some of the platforms we're on that we can't take them to virtual tournaments. Whereas through our site, we'll be able to, they could virtually compete, grow their skills, compete for scholarships, things like that. So we're really looking forward to doing that.
I love that. Okay, well, keep me posted on that. Yes. I will be following along. Very cool. Hey, thank you so much for being here. You guys go say thank you to Elizabeth. Follow her. Everything will be linked below. And do check out some of those freebies. We'll have those linked below too. Those are a great way to get started at home. And to those of you who are watching, if nobody's told you yet today, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. It's really important, you guys. Happy teaching.